Diamond Sutra and the Sutra of Neng. I guess in the Zen tradition, this is one of the most famous. And I have 3 versions. There's another version I have I can't find, but by Yampolsky, which, if I remember, has a Dun Wang text, but there's a Shambhala book with the dragon edition that has the dragon protecting the pearl of wisdom here, which, if you were to grasp it, you may be consumed by the dragon. The cover art is by the 6th Patriarch Tearing Up a Sutra by Liang Kai, first half of the 13th century. So this is the 6th Patriarch, Hui Neng, tearing up a sutra. I just love that art. It's so expressive, and then the same artist, apparently, the first half of the 13th century, did this cover art where Hui Neng was a illiterate woodcutter, and he was enlightened on his rounds of selling bundles of wood, hearing a wandering priest chanting a sutra, and he asked the priest who he could go to get the teaching, and the priest directed him to his teacher. This book has some interesting drawings. This is the first ancestor, Mahakashapa, the second ancestor, up to the first ancestor in China's Bodhi2500. Third and the 6th ancestor is Hui Neng, I'm not sure. 33rd ancestor from Buddha, with the 6th in China. But what's the part of the story I like is it has two key teachings in Zen. One is, of course, the mind-to-mind transmission, which is what Bodhidharma's quote is about, direct transmission, mind to mind, apart from words. And the other one is the key koan of the original face, which is maybe the most famous koan besides the dog. What was your original face? And the mind-to-mind transmission happens when Hui Neng is called in the middle of the night by the teacher after pounding rice. Writing the poem, pounding rice, getting called into the teacher. The teacher reads so they're sitting face to face. The teacher is reading the sutra to him, and he experiences awakening, and the teacher gives him the robe and bowl and tells him to go away. And from the sutra, that was the only encounter they had. And whether it's legendary or not, I think Jan Polsky talks somewhat about that, but it's maybe somewhat legendary. But there's some nice parts of the story. Like, then after he goes away, he's being pursued by the monks, these jealous monks, of course, because he has the robe and the bowl. And so this takes up on page 75 in the autobiography section. So as he leaves the temple, the teacher says, Neng, his experience of enlightenment was, I have had the honor to inherit the Dharma from you. Since I am now enlightened, it is only right for me to cross the sea of birth and death myself by realizing my own essence of mind. The teacher replies, quite so, quite so. Beginning from you, the dhyana school become very popular. 3 years after your departure from me, I shall leave this world. You may start on your journey now. Go as fast as you can toward the south. Do not preach too soon, as Buddhism is not so easily spread. So then he went on a journey, reaching Taiyu Mountain in 2 months, and noticed several hundred men were in pursuit of me with the intention of robbing me of my robe and begging bowl. And among them there was a monk named Hui Ming, whose lay name was Chen, a general of the 4th rank in lay life. His manner was rough and his temper hot. Of all the pursuers, he was the most vigilant. When he was about to overtake me, I threw the robe and the bowl on the rock, saying, this robe is nothing but a symbol. What is the use of taking it away by force? I then hid myself. When he got to the rock, he tried to pick them up, but found he could not. Then he shouted out, lay brother, for the patriarch had not yet formally joined the order. I come for the Dharma, not for the robe. Whereupon I came out from my hiding place, and I squatted on the rock. He made obeisance and said, lay brother, preach to me, please. Since the object of your coming is the Dharma, said I, refrain from thinking of anything and keep your mind blank. I will then teach you. When he had done this for a considerable time, I said, when you are thinking of neither good nor evil, what is at that particular moment, Venerable Sir, your real nature, your original face? As soon as he heard this, he at once became enlightened, but he further asked, apart from those esoteric sayings and esoteric ideas handed down by the patriarchs from generation to generation, are there any other esoteric teachings? This is very funny. This story is the original face story. What is your original face? Before your parents were born, which is discovering your true nature that is outside of time. Time is a linearity of being born and dying and parents and children, but original face is outside of time. What is that original face? Where is it? And he said, but first, his instruction was, refrain from thinking of anything and keep your mind blank. I will then teach you. When he had done this for a considerable time, then he posed the koan. After a considerable time. This soldier had been chasing him. I had heard, Zen masters and officials, real Zen masters, lecture on this, and they emphasize the physicality. This pursuer, this general, or the vigilant pursuer, was physically, had been physically chasing him, and perhaps was sweating and full of adrenaline. And I guess in other translations, so imagine him exerting, then he's instructed to refrain from thinking of anything and keep your mind blank. And he does this for a considerable time. And then he's hit with a koan. When you're thinking of neither good nor evil, what is it at that particular moment? Your original face. And here, this translation says, as soon as he heard this, he at once became enlightened. But evidently, other translations, they have a sentence where he breaks out into sweat. And a teacher emphasized that, look, it's physical, right? Your body reacts, you break out into sweat. You have this, like, not fear and trembling, but there's a physical awakening. But it's also funny how he became enlightened, but then he has more questions. Apart from these esoteric sayings, are there any other esoteric teachings? It's not like it answers everything. You think, what? Is this it? Am I enlightened? Isn't there more? Is there more esoteric teachings? Is it this simple? And then Neng replies, what I can tell you is not esoteric. If you turn your light inwardly, you will find what is esoteric within you. And so the pursuer says, now, thanks to your guidance, I know it as a water drinker knows how hot or how cold the water is. Lay brother, you are now my teacher. So this encounter is so key to all the Zen fables, and you don't have to read 100 books and get the original language and learn how to speak medieval Chinese or Japanese. Just spend some time not thinking and inquiring into the original face. And then you wonder, is that it? Aren't there more esoteric teachings? That's the craving.